The deafening roar of the crowd faded into white noise as 17-year-old Marcus Chen took his position at the starting block. His fingers trembled slightly, not from nervousness, but from the familiar jittery surge coursing through his veins. The school championship meant everything. 4 years of training had led to this moment. He'd been up since 4 a.m., cramming for his calculus exam before first period, then rehearsing for the spring concert at lunch. Now, as evening approached, fatigue clawed at his muscles. But Marcus had his secret weapon. He reached into his sports bag and pulled out the sleek black can, its neon green logo pulsing like a beacon. His fourth energy drink of the day. He cracked it open, the familiar hiss a promise of renewed strength, and downed half in 3 long gulps. The liquid burned his throat, a sensation he'd grown to crave. Within seconds, he felt the familiar rush, his heart rate accelerating, the fog of exhaustion temporarily lifting. Coach Rivera frowned when he spotted the can. "Marcus, we've talked about those things. You don't need that." Marcus flashed his winning smile. "Just a little boost, coach. Last one, I promise." Coach Rivera hesitated, then sighed. "The scouts are here. Focus on your form, not speed. You've already got the best times in the district." Marcus nodded, but they both knew he wasn't listening. Not when Harvard's track coach was in the stands. Not when a potential scholarship hung in the balance. Not when his parents had already told everyone in their extended family about their son, the future Ivy League star. He crushed the empty can and tossed it aside, settling into position. As the starter raised the gun, Marcus closed his eyes briefly. The pounding in his chest wasn't just adrenaline. It was stronger, more erratic. He'd been feeling it more often lately, especially after his daily energy drinks. Sometimes 3, sometimes 5. Today was special. Today required extra fuel. The gun fired. Marcus exploded forward. His mother, Ellen Chen, watched anxiously from the bleachers, her phone recording every stride of her only child. Next to her, her husband Robert gripped his knees so tightly his knuckles whitened. They had never missed a meet, not since Marcus joined track in freshman year. His talent had emerged suddenly and spectacularly, transforming their quiet, bookish son into the school's star athlete. "He looks different today," Ellen whispered. "More intense." Robert nodded. "Championship pressure. He's been working toward this for months." Ellen wanted to believe that's all it was. But lately, something about her son troubled her. The unexplained irritability, the difficulty sleeping, the decline in appetite, except for those strange cans he kept in his backpack, the ones he thought she didn't notice. On the track, Marcus rounded the first curve, already pulling ahead of the competition. His form was flawless, his stride impossibly long. The crowd roared its approval. Ellen found herself holding her breath as she always did, waiting for that moment when her son seemed to transcend human limits, when he looked less like a high school senior and more like the elite athlete he was destined to become. But today, something was wrong. As Marcus reached the halfway point, Ellen noticed a strange hitch in his stride, a momentary hesitation. His right hand twitched toward his chest, then dropped. "Is he okay?" she asked, clutching Robert's arm. "He's fine. Just finding his pace," Robert replied. but his voice lacked conviction. Marcus pushed harder, his vision narrowing to a tunnel. The familiar burn in his lungs had transformed into something sharper, more insistent. His heart no longer felt like it was racing. It felt like it was fighting to escape his rib cage. Each beat seemed irregular, a sensation he'd never experienced before. Just push through, he told himself. Almost there. With 200 meters left, Marcus was 3 strides ahead of his closest competitor. The Harvard scout was on his feet now, stopwatch in hand. Coach Rivera shouted something from the sideline, but the words dissolved into the buzzing that filled Marcus's ears. That's when it happened. His heart seemed to stutter, then seize. A bolt of pain shot down his left arm. His legs, those perfectly trained instruments that had carried him to victory so many times, suddenly felt disconnected from his body. Ellen saw it before anyone else. The slight stumble, the grimace that crossed her son's face. "Something's wrong," she gasped, already on her feet. Marcus made it another 3 strides before collapsing onto the track. His body crumpled with a terrible finality that sent a collective gasp through the stadium. For one frozen moment, no one moved. Then Coach Rivera was sprinting toward him, the medical team close behind. Ellen didn't remember leaving the bleachers. She was simply there, kneeling beside her son's motionless form, screaming his name as the medical team performed CPR. Robert stood shell-shocked behind her, unable to process what was happening. They didn't know it yet, but the autopsy would later reveal the truth. Cardiac arrhythmia, exacerbated by dangerously high levels of caffeine and other stimulants. Marcus Chen, honor student, track star, beloved son, was gone before the ambulance arrived, just 50 meters short of the finish line. 6 months earlier, the problem had begun innocently enough. "Try this," Devin had said, tossing Marcus a colorful can during lunch period. "It'll help with those all-nighters you're always pulling." Marcus had stared at the energy drink skeptically. "My mom would kill me if she caught me with this." Devin had rolled his eyes. "Your mom isn't here. Besides, everyone drinks these. How do you think I managed to maintain straight A's while making varsity?" Marcus had hesitated only briefly before cracking open the can. The first sip was revolting, too sweet and somehow metallic. But by the third sip, something changed. He felt a pleasant buzz, a lifting of the mental fog that had plagued him since starting his senior year courses. That night, for the first time in weeks, he completed all his homework before midnight. The next morning, despite only 6 hours of sleep, he felt remarkably alert during his 7 a.m. track practice. Coach had even commented on his improved performance. "Whatever you're doing, keep it up," Coach Rivera had said, clapping him on the shoulder. So Marcus did. 1 can became 2, mornings and afternoons. Then evenings too, when practice ran late and he still had AP assignments waiting. He learned which brands hit hardest, which lasted longest. He started keeping a stash in his locker, in his bedroom, even in the glove compartment of his car. His mother had noticed the changes first. "You're not eating dinner," Ellen observed one evening, watching as Marcus pushed rice around his plate. "Are you feeling okay?" "Just not hungry," Marcus replied, avoiding her gaze. "Big lunch?" Ellen frowned. You said the same thing yesterday, and you were up at midnight again. I heard you pacing." Marcus shrugged. AP exams are coming up. Everyone's stressed. Maybe we should talk to Dr. Patterson about. "I don't need a doctor, Mom," Marcus interrupted, irritation flaring unexpectedly. "I need parents who trust me to handle my own life." The harshness of his tone had startled them both. Marcus had never spoken to his mother that way before. The hurt in Ellen's eyes made him immediately regretful, but the apology stuck in his throat. "I'm just tired," he muttered instead, leaving the table. In his room, he'd reached for another energy drink, hidden in his desk drawer beneath a stack of college brochures. The irony wasn't lost on him, drinking something that made it impossible to sleep because he was tired. But the alternative, falling behind, disappointing everyone, losing his edge, seemed worse. Ellen had shared her concerns with Robert that night. "He's changing, Robert. His moods, his appetite. He's not sleeping." Robert had sighed, rubbing his temples. "He's 17, Ellen. Senior year is stressful. College applications, maintaining his GPA, track competitions. It's a lot." "It's more than that. Something's not right." "What do you want me to do? Follow him around? Search his room?" Robert shook his head. "He's never given us reason not to trust him. No drinking, no drugs. His grades are excellent. He's on track for a scholarship. Maybe we need to give him some space." Ellen had reluctantly agreed. Marcus had always been their easy child, responsible, focused, honest. If he was struggling, he would come to them. He always had before. But Marcus didn't come to them. Instead, he disappeared further into his new routine. Wake up exhausted, energy drink, excel at morning practice. Energy drink, survive classes, energy drink. Afternoon practice, energy drink. Homework until midnight, crash, repeat. His times improved dramatically. College scouts started showing up at meets. His teachers praised his focus, unaware of how artificially it was maintained. Even his parents' concerns eased as his irritability became the new normal. Just Marcus under pressure, they told themselves. He would balance out after college admission season. Only Coach Rivera seemed to notice the troubling signs beneath the improved performance. "You're looking thin, Chen," he commented one afternoon, "and your heart rate's elevated even before warm-ups." Marcus dismissed his concerns. "Just excited to run, Coach." "Been having headaches? Trouble sleeping?" Marcus hesitated. "Sometimes it's nothing." Coach Rivera studied him carefully. "I've seen this before, you know. Athletes looking for an edge. Those energy drinks aren't a substitute for proper nutrition and rest." "I don't know what you're talking about," Marcus said defensively. "I think you do." Coach Rivera sighed. "I can't stop you, but consider this. Whatever edge those drinks are giving you now, they're borrowing it from your future. Your body keeps the score, son." Marcus had nodded respectfully, then promptly ignored the advice. After all, the evidence contradicted the warning. He was faster than ever, more focused. The drinks weren't hurting him. They were helping him reach his potential. 3 weeks before the championship, the first real warning sign appeared. During an ordinary practice session, Marcus suddenly felt his heart racing uncontrollably. His vision blurred momentarily, and he had to stop running mid-lap, bending over with his hands on his knees. "You okay?" his teammate Jake asked, jogging in place beside him. Marcus nodded, unable to speak as he waited for the strange fluttering in his chest to subside. After a minute, the sensation passed. He straightened up, forced a smile, and finished practice as if nothing had happened. But incidents like this began occurring more frequently. Sometimes at night, as he lay in bed, his heart would suddenly pound so hard it scared him. Once, during calculus, his hands trembled so violently he couldn't hold his pencil. He started researching his symptoms online, finding terms like caffeine sensitivity and stimulant-induced arrhythmia. The words made him uneasy, but the articles always seemed to refer to older adults or people consuming massive quantities, much more than his 4 or 5 cans a day. Besides, he reasoned he could stop anytime, just not now, not with Harvard watching, not with states approaching, not with his parents' expectations weighing on his shoulders. And so, on the day that would be his last, Marcus Chen stepped onto the track with 760 milligrams of caffeine, taurine, and other stimulants coursing through his veins, the equivalent of nearly 8 cups of coffee consumed within a 6-hour period. His already strained heart, pushed beyond its limits by months of overstimulation, simply couldn't sustain the additional burden. The funeral was held at the school gymnasium, the only venue large enough to accommodate the hundreds who came to mourn. Marcus's track uniform and medals were displayed alongside photos chronicling his too brief life. His teammates formed an honor guard, each wearing black armbands with Marcus's race number. Ellen and Robert Chen moved through the service like ghosts. In the days following their son's death, they had learned the truth from the autopsy report and the half-dozen empty energy drink cans found in Marcus's gym bag. The medical examiner had been painfully direct. Their son had essentially given himself a heart attack at 17. Coach Rivera approached them after the service, his eyes red-rimmed. "I should have done more," he said, voice breaking. "I suspected, but I didn't want to believe it. I thought he was too smart to..." He couldn't finish. Ellen reached out to grasp his hand. "We all missed it," she said softly. "All of us who loved him." In the following months, Ellen channeled her grief into action. She discovered that Marcus's case, while tragic, was not unique. Emergency room visits related to energy drink consumption had been rising steadily among adolescents, with symptoms ranging from heart palpitations to seizures. Yet many parents, like herself, remained unaware of the risks. She began speaking at parent-teacher associations and youth sports organizations. She shared Marcus's story, how a bright, responsible teenager had gradually become dependent on substances marketed as harmless productivity aids, how the warning signs had been subtle, easily attributed to normal teenage stress, how no one had recognized the danger until it was too late. "These drinks aren't regulated like medications," she would explain, holding up some of the popular brands. "The caffeine content can be 3 times that of coffee, plus other stimulants with unknown effects. And they're marketed directly to our children." Often she would show a photo of Marcus crossing a finish line, arms raised in victory, his smile radiant. "My son wasn't reckless," she would tell the silent audiences. "He wasn't a rule breaker. He was a perfectionist trying to meet impossible expectations, many of which we, his parents, had helped create. He thought these drinks were helping him succeed, not killing him." Robert, once consumed by guilt and grief, eventually joined her advocacy. Together, they established the Marcus Chen Foundation, which lobbied for stricter regulations on energy drinks and increased education about their risks. At Westlake High School, changes came more immediately. Energy drinks were banned from campus. Coach Rivera implemented mandatory nutrition seminars for all athletes. The school psychologists developed programs addressing performance pressure and healthy coping mechanisms. On the one-year anniversary of Marcus's death, Ellen visited the track where her son had spent so many hours. A small memorial plaque had been installed near the finish line. "Marcus Chen, remember to run your own race at your own pace." She traced the letters with her fingertips, remembering her brilliant boy who had believed he needed chemicals to be exceptional, who had never understood that he already was. As she stood to leave, Ellen noticed a young runner doing laps alone in the fading afternoon light. Something in his determined stride reminded her of Marcus. When he stopped for a water break, she approached hesitantly. "You're very dedicated," she said. The boy glanced up, recognizing her immediately. "Mrs. Chen, I was a freshman when Marcus was senior. He used to give me tips sometimes." Ellen smiled sadly. He enjoyed mentoring younger athletes. The boy nodded, then reached into his bag. Ellen's heart clenched when she saw him pull out a familiar-looking can. "Before you drink that," she said quietly, "would you let me tell you a story about what really happened that day?" The boy hesitated, then set the unopened can aside. "Yes, ma'am, I'd like to hear it." As twilight settled over the track, Ellen shared the truth that might save this young man's life. The story of a boy who thought he was invincible, parents who missed the signs, and a finish line that remained forever uncrossed. Later that evening, Ellen found Robert in their living room, looking through Marcus's college acceptance letters, arrived tragically after his death. Harvard's thick envelope lay on top, its crimson logo a cruel reminder of dreams unfulfilled. "I spoke to another one today," Ellen said, sitting beside him. "A runner like Marcus. I think he listened." Robert took her hand. "One at a time. That's all we can do." Ellen nodded, glancing at the framed photo of Marcus on the mantel. Not the track star in victory, but their son at 14, laughing during a family camping trip, before the pressure and the drinks and the endless striving. "I keep thinking about what we could have done differently," she whispered. "The conversations we should have had." "We can't change our past," Robert said gently, "but maybe we can change someone else's future." Outside their window, other teenagers in other homes were pushing themselves beyond healthy limits, reaching for drinks that promised impossible energy, productivity without consequences, success without sufficient rest. Some had parents who noticed the signs but didn't recognize the danger. Others had parents who remained completely unaware. Ellen thought of the boy at the track, the unopened can set aside. One conversation might not be enough to change a culture, but it was a start. One at a time, she agreed, resting her head on her husband's shoulder. For Marcus,